You and I have long history. We're childhood friends, and growing up with you, you were an innocent young girl who's gone through life and its troubles. We didn't see each other for years, and then when we reunited and started business ventures together, there was a like a resurrection in a positive way, right? You're no longer this little girl. You're married with children. You have your own business. You have your own properties. You're doing things, and I'm like, whoa! I did not have that foresight to see the transformation in you, and then to discover at the same time, you're like, yeah, you have a gun business. I want to do that, and so part of us reuniting and establishing business relationship together, friendship, reinvigorating our friendship. You were the catalyst to my transforming my business. You were the first person that I experimented on with doing my class remotely. You Because of COVID, I was in a creative space of saying, how do I help my business withstand these troubling times? And you were the ones like, well, what's the worst that could happen? Let's do it. And I'm like, well, I don't know how the slides are going to present. I don't know how the audio is going to work. And we did it and it worked. And then later on, I made it better as I got more experience. So I want to thank you because not only that, and I'll speak to them all independently, but first, can you speak to how it was going through a class with me virtually? Like, not too many people say that they can experience a NRA or firearms course, even though the firearm part was still live, the instructional part was remote.
Well, for me, although yes, I'm a business owner, I still work corporate, and
Mm.
I've worked corporate for almost 10 years. So we do a lot of webinars. I've been working remotely for 2 years now, since the pandemic. So for me, it was like a no-brainer.
Mm.
Let's go online, and being working at home remotely, being a mom, a wife. For me to get out of the house for 8 hours to
Mm.
sit down for a class would not have been productive for me at all. And I think that could ring true with a lot of people. So for me to be able to take advantage of that course
Mm.
online within, my own space was yeah, it was a priceless experience for me.
It was a it was a profitable experience for me, and I tell people this all the time during moments of catastrophe, pandemic, tragedy. Some people crumble while other people flourish, and a lot of people benefited during the pandemic while other people were suffering. Excuse me. I was happened to be a company that my best years in the 5 years I've been in business was profit wise was during the pandemic. Everyone, the fear of what was happening, um, caused people to panic and want to buy guns.
Yeah.
Um, in the state of Connecticut, in order to purchase a gun legally, you have to go through this course. So and me during the pandemic, my full time job at the time allowed me to work remote. So I was working the business 7 days a week. I was doing classes. I didn't care if it was one person, two people, three people, and it was like 4 or 5 times a week. I'm teaching the class, and I look at it, and I at one point I was shameful through my being humble. I was like, I'm really profiting off of other people's fear, and it kind of made me feel like I was a bad business person. But I'm like,
That's
businesses,
business. This is
yeah,
business.
you
Yeah.
know, I'm providing a service that's a need. It just happens that the need is amplified in magnitude right now and at this point in time. So, so I want to thank you because when I did it, I was like, if this works with you, I can now offer it to everyone. And just like you said, there's students I have to this day, and they'll still come to class with the mask on because the fear of it still being out there. And then when they're like, wait, I have the ability or the option to do the classroom part remotely and I don't have to be amongst all these strangers who I don't know. I'm like, absolutely. We can coordinate it and I'll make that happen. However, when we go to the range, another thing some people do is they'll be like, I'll stay in my car and wait while others shoot. And then when they leave and it's my turn, I'll go in and I'll do my shooting part. And I understand it. COVID is real and the fear is there and the severity of it is there. But another part, my business is constantly evolving. And you were one person that has taken advantage of pretty much all the services I provide, whether it was the basic NRA pistol course, you did advanced training with me, you did the simunitions course with me, which was
amazing experience.
So I want to talk about the simunitions part last, but after that, you called me to say that one, I put new sights on your Taurus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was a misconception that you had, that many people had, right? You thought it was something wrong with the sights and the gun or why you weren't hitting where you wanted to hit. And can you talk to that experience?
So there are a couple of different factors with that, right? Because I believe the term that you used was I was jerking the trigger. Yes.
Yeah, my choice of words are keen.
I was, no good. So my initial thought was, I'm not seeing properly. There's got to be something wrong with the sights. And I believe you advised me that, it was like notorious with the Taurus G2C that, the sight kind of like disappears on the background when you're at the range. So between me jerking the trigger and between me not really being able to focus and see my sights, I initially asked you, I need this to be changed out, thinking that the sight was an optical.
So the sights on the gun, and what's the good thing is that happens, they are supposed to disappear. And a lot of people don't remember because one of those fine, minute things that happens in the course, I call it hyperfocus, but it's front sight focus, that you're so focused on what you're aiming at that your brain helps everything else blurs or vanish because you're now 100% tuned into that. And so a lot of times people are like, but I no longer can see the sight. Right. You no longer need to see the sight because your brain is now, your eyes and your brain are operating and doing it. And then so people's like, or sometimes they'll say, I don't know what I'm supposed to see. And then so they're aiming, and in reality, it's like, okay, I'm aiming here, but I'm not hitting what I want to hit. And again, there's many factors, but yours was diagnosed by a technique that I use by putting blank rounds into the gun. So the person's brains takes over, and they're going to shoot the gun as if it was loaded. I never let the student load the magazine because then they know when it's coming. Right. So then you can, if you know it's coming, you can anticipate it. I load the magazine. I put you under the impression that you're going to get the bang, and you get a click. And what a lot of students do, if there's nothing in the gun shouldn't move. It should go click. But what happens with students when they think that they're going to do it, if they're flinching, it's funny because you turn around and laugh. It's funny, right? It's so like, click. What the hell happened? Like, what was supposed to happen was it was supposed to just go click, right?
Right.
But by the gun moving, that's where it shows like, okay, I know I can diagnose it now. It's almost like being a doctor. I send it out to a lab. I tell you to hook you up to an EKG, whatever the acronyms are, and it's like, okay, we see the problem. Now, how do we prescribe the antidote? The antidote is dry fire. And then how much dry firing are you doing?
Well, I go to the range about every week now, but I do a lot of dry fire in my mirror, probably twice a week, I would say, or just randomly, different areas in my home, especially after that munitions course, being aware of anything being able to happen at any time. So it's like randomly, I'll just dry fire, like in my kitchen, no kids kind of thing, but I do it quite often. I still have a long way to go. But being able to come back to you and being able to describe my difficulties, and for you to help me out through those and actually diagnose what's going on, whether it was me flinching or the fact that my sight, I didn't feel comfortable with my sight, so you did change it to a true glow, and that definitely helped a lot, and I do feel more comfortable. But there's still a lot more factors.
It comes with time. I'm impressed because of the level of commitment and the amount of training that you're doing. A lot of students that I've gone through, they don't. It's not, shooting a gun is not like riding a bike.
Right.
It's a deteriorating skill. So if you're not constantly practicing, when you go to shoot, you're going to slap the trigger. You may flinch. There's times where I anticipated it because I shoot so many guns. I'm like, the gun should have went bang already. And it didn't go bang because the gun is different. It operates different. And so when you're there, people a lot of times, I have one student say, well, I thought if you pointed in the direction and that's what you wanted to hit, that's what you would hit. And I'm like, it's not a video game. Like, it's not a video game. Like, I can't be like, oh, well, click on target B and then press X, Y, or Z, and I'm gonna destroy it. This is not what's the game? And because I'm not a gamer, the shooting, the Call of Duty. It's not Call of Duty or whatever the other popular ones out there. And I'm like, it really does not work that way. It's not like you hold a trigger and you put it there, you press this button, and the dude, you shoot him 3 times and he dies. I was like, it doesn't work that way. There's a lot of things that comes into it. And I tell people all the time, they be like, are you a good shot? And I'm like, yeah, I can hit roughly where you tell me to hit. That's not hard. I was like, because that target is never going to shoot back at me. I have all this ample time to think, to consider my trigger pull, to consider my sight alignment, my sight picture, and then methodically squeeze the trigger. And if I miss, I get to do it over again. And that's where I started seeing the advancement of why regular civilians needed the ability to train under pressure. And pressure in the sense that it can't be a piece of paper that you're aiming at always, because this is not what you didn't come to me for marksmanship. 99% of my student base do not come to me for marksmanship. They come to me for self-defense, especially in the trying times that we're experiencing now. You had the well, I don't even want to say privilege. Yeah, I guess however you want to look at it, privilege to do the simulations course. Which wasn't a privilege was you having to be the victim of domestic violence in that experience. Can you talk about because I remember you did the recap and you couldn't stay. So could you now elaborate and talk about the surrealness, the emotions and everything you were feeling and experiencing?
They come back, just thinking about it, they come right back, because it was that entire experience really changed my perception of being a civilian and truly knowing that anything can happen at any moment. Prior to that experience, you asked me before we began the training, do you carry with one in the head? Mm-hmm. And you said, I'm going to ask you that question. I'm
going to stop you real quickly. One in the head meaning one in the chamber, right? Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. So yeah, you asked me that before the exercise, and I said, no, I don't. I carry one when I'm at home. Yes, I work at home, but I don't carry one in the chamber. After the experience, I'll never not carry one in the chamber.
Why is that?
Because of the fact that being the victim and in that simulation, when you came for me, right, you came into the scene, and immediately, although I knew the fire, the bullets were, simulated bullets, immediately you said, Kim, where are you? And it was like, I knew you were, like, I had to, it was fight or flight, and I had to fight because of the situation that I was in, the room that I was in, and that big gun that you had. And I had like a 9mm. But yeah, that entire experience really changed the way I view handling guns, the way I view how to carry, all the above. would do the experience. I would do that all over again. I would recommend that to any civilian, especially women, because it's really something that you cannot take that experience away from a movie. You can't take that experience away from someone just talking about it. You have to live it in order to truly feel that adrenaline come across you, and being put into that situation, being able to know what you're going to do if that situation were to ever truly come to fruition. That's something that you cannot buy. And I would do it all over again.
Did it hurt?
Yeah, I still have a scar here.
I apologize.
It's all good because I'm sure you got one too.
I think mine's been a lot of vitamin A because I was the suspect in every scene and was obviously teaching people how to defend themselves against me, and consequently I was the one that was being shot. So yes, a lot of bruising, but a lot of vitamin E because it does break the skin. It does have to you feel it. You recently broke through the scene with your product. I know you have history of developing businesses, but this one I think that you're truly passionate about, and this is going to be your baby, your catalyst to send you to embrace the small business world.
Yes, my love project, I call it Scarlet Oak Candle Co. I'm the owner and operator. Scarlet Oak Candle Co. came from my real estate company, Scarlet Oak Real Estate Investments. I'm a real estate investor, multifamily holds. So yeah, after I began buying homes and I had this extra space and time on my hands during the pandemic, I just decided to begin, a little love project, and it really turned into a small business that I truly believe that one day, hopefully, it would like blow up into something that I would never expect. But yeah, I mean, I think that this business will take off.
You spoke it, you manifested here. Can you tell everyone where they can find you?
Oh yeah, sure. www.scarletoakcandleco.com. You can also find us on Instagram at Scarlet Oak Candle Co. On Facebook, Scarlet Oak Candle Co. Yeah, Google us.
Yes, I'm bringing people to you. Bullseye _ LLC on Instagram. Website www.bullseye-llc.com.